told me to talk about the manners of dars. I will leave it for at the end if the time allows, because we started quite late. And if we couldn't at the end do it, next week I'll do it from the start. What I wanted to talk about is basically, I assume every one of you should assume as well that what we talk is inter-religion talks. The inter-religion is the main point about it is I'm assuming everyone here, we are not going to ever discussion anything about the existence of God. We are not going to talk about the existence of prophets or prophethood or whether Islam is the right religion. All of these are taken for granted. Whoever comes to these sessions, he already is fine or she's already fine with this issue. So I want to make sure that that is understood. And when that is understood, then if I may say anything that it may look to you as anything contrary to all these basic principles of Shiism. And it's not only as a Muslim, we are Muslim, we are Shia, we believe in all Ma'sumin, we believe in Imam Zaman alayhi salatu wassalam. These are all taken for granted, and I'm not going to discuss any of these things. But if you felt it is only your wrong perception, if it does come like that to you, or maybe I have said it in a way, but I'm just reassuring you from the beginning so that I don't have to come every now and then and explain that. And not only it does that to me, to what you hear from me, it also, for those who have got really if anyone is coming with any intention of getting strength from on those points, it's not going to benefit from it, because I'm not going to discuss any of those issues. Is that clear what I'm saying? So that's one. And the second thing that I wanted to be understood is I might quite often raise the topics that may look to you controversial. And I am definitely, that is the way I talk. And maybe in the past I wasn't too often talking like that. But number one, I'm not the same person anymore. I mean, that's 6-7 years past. I've studied more, I've learned more, I've come to new findings in my life. And also, it's not only that, the other thing is basically the humankind is supposed to be like that. We're supposed to learn further and enhance our understanding. And I can even talk sometimes very opposite of the mainstream. But I do not mind if anyone asks me any question. I'm open to any question. And if I cannot, if I see that I cannot defend enough my own idea about it, so I might change my mind. But so then what I'm saying is, it's okay that if you do not agree with it, it's okay that you ask any question you want. And at the end of the whole discussion, you can come back and say, I don't believe in what you say. That's fine. I don't feel offended, and I don't feel bad about it. But at least you have heard one more view on something, on the topic, right? So I'm telling this so that you understand that part. The other issue is really, the whole idea is to mind steering here. The whole idea is to scratch your previous knowledge, and it disturbs you. It must, when I say it must disturb you, that's the way I do, the way I talk. And I remember even 6-7 years ago, I used to talk to Mr. Derhami, and I used to tell him, why do we do it? I was telling to anyone who's doing Salat Namaz, Salat Jum'ah, or any of those or events, I was saying, why do you think you have to tell things that everyone would agree with you? What is the point that you bring up anything that is already agreed upon, and there is no disagreement, and everyone just acknowledges and go home? What is he taking home? So I have two things, or probably three objectives in my talks. One is to stir the minds, to make you when I say feel you disturbed, to make you think whether what you knew in the past was correct or good enough, or whether there another view or perspective can be accepted or not. Because not necessarily always, if you learn another perspective on an issue, that means it conflicts with the other perspective that you already had in mind. Because I mean, we know that a lot of religious issues are looked at from philosophical point of view, from irfanic point of view, from scientific point of view, from ethical point of view. They're all correct, and none of them are going to is not meant to nullify the other version of it. And especially, as I said, I might come sometimes talk things that are can be very controversial. One of the things that I very much like to get an opportunity to talk in the future is about, maybe I said it last time, is about the masculine language of Quran, and which I don't agree with the way Quran is presented to us. It's so manly. Everyone would think God is man, and even when you look at the words which are used, Hova is for male, right? And every time is referred to God is referred to as Hova. So that might give the connotation that God is man. Not only that, even the rules which comes out of it does imply that this book is interpreted only by men, and women have no thing in it. And one of the very famous verses of Quran about that is that verse which Ar-Rijalu Qawwamuna 'ala an-Nisa, and then continues and goes where the man can hit the woman. You know that, right? You all know about it. And there's a lot of justifications about it. I did search. I mean, I have done in the past, search the opinion of ulama, maraji. They have given every explanation to Mahdi. They have said, look, how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been good, in Prophet of mercy and rahmat. And they have shown a lot of examples to show that Quran is the book, or Allah's word is the word of mercy for all human, man and woman. Yet, when it has reached to this ayah, they have still maintained. In fact, the very reasons that they've been brought up is in confirmation that cannot be true. That cannot be correct. That's my view. It cannot be correct that a man can hit a woman, for instance, right? And I have my own evidences to say it's not possible. And then how come then animals have got so much rights, and you're not allowed to hit your animal? How can you hit your wife or the spouse, right? That doesn't fit in my mindset. Nevertheless, I don't want to go into that. What I want to say is, so I either bring talks which are controversial, I don't agree with them, so I would raise it, or I will talk about the things it make you think further and more, or to blend some sort of science with it, like quantum or neuroscience with certain topics, that to give a different perspective to that topic. So that's what I wanted to talk about at the beginning, to make sure we all understand. Salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But mind you, I have to add that the very example I gave about women and how the Maraji have said about it, it is, I also have another view is the more science progresses, the more change will come to the religion. So maybe at the time that all these have been interpreted and those verses have been read in that light, definitely science has not been as progressed as today, and especially social science was not as progressed as today. Especially the psychological science was not as progressed as today. And so they have taken probably what exactly has been at that time. And when you look at it, for instance, it says it was presented to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said you can bet with what do you call that? The stick of the miswak. What do you call? What is miswak? Toothbrush. So then, what is it? I mean, if that is not beating, so I mean, why do we want to justify that? Why do we resort to those sort of explanations that, or even one of the marajih, very great marajih, I don't want to name anyone here, has said that you can, it is not allowed to hit a woman, but if you hit and she gets red anywhere, a red spot, then you have to pay diya. That means it is not, you know, in Islam we have only 5: halal, haram, wajib, haram, mustahab, makruh, mubah. So what is this explanation? It is not allowed means which of these 5 is it? There is not. It can be out of these 5. If that, probably it means it's mubah. Then that's what I have the problem with. Otherwise, it should have been said it's haram on outright. When it is said it is not allowed, but it said it is not allowed, but it becomes red, the place of eating, then it is sin. And before that, it is not a sin. Correct? So anyway, let's get on to our own talk. A loud salawat so that I can start. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So far, you don't have any problem? No? Nasir?
No.
Okay.
There's a message on the group from Sadia that says, totally agree on male interpretation on Quran being masculine, thus definitely needs female interpretation on the Quran, inshallah, one day.
Okay, go become marja so that you can have your own saying of it. Anyway, let's start. I want to give the topic of justice. My point was to say what we see as ijbar and force upon us in this world in terms of the lifestyle, the family, all those things that I said these are not compulsory. It was not enforced on us. This is what we have chosen. But to get into that point, I start with what I call topology of human being. Meaning where the whole human being, where is he situated in the whole lifespan of him? Life, not material life, in overall. So we know that insan was created, first thing of the human being was created was his spirit, the soul, right? The soul without the body as such. Okay? And Ahadith says it was 2,000 years before the body was created, the soul was created. So whether this 2,000 years is the 2,000 years of material life, this world, Earth's time, or it is of Qiyamah, which we say one day of it is 50,000 years of fear. That I don't know. But we know it, even if it's as per the earthly timing, it's 2,000 years before that. And so that is the ruh, when insan was in the shape of a ruh, and spirit and soul only. Then came after that, it started Allah giving us body. But this body is particle body. Have you heard about particle body? Particle body is that, particle is zarre, yeah? Small little thing. That is in alam zar. We are all created from, we all were given particle body. And that particle body, or very small particle that we were given, it was alongside, we had shu'ur and we had intelligence. That's why Allah would talk to us. So at the time between when we were in the spirit until the time we came into material world is called alam zar. That's a span of time. So when in one of the intersections of alam zar, we were given the particle body, then Allah called upon us and started to talk to us with that verse of alastu bi rabbikum. It refers to that time. Then from this life we went to material life. That is when our zygote was made here, and then we started to grow in the womb of the mother. That's the material life. Then we came to this material life. So that is trait, right? So far. Ruh, alam ruh, alam zar, alam matter, or material world, And then we go from here. Where do we go from here? Barzakh. So that's another life that we have. So we move on, we will go to Barzakh. And from Barzakh, we all know where we go. We go to Qiyamah. So there are 5 stages we are passing. Of course, you know that there are different categorization of this existence or circle of existence. They have is alam aql, alam ilah, alam aql, alam misal, alam maddi. That's another way of looking at it. But because my talk is about alam zar, I need to use alam zar, so I'm giving this sort of categories. That is ruh, zar, alam zamin, earth, barzakh, qiyamah. So, and you know that only in Islam and only in our ahadith by Ma'sumin alayhi salatu wasalam, there are so much knowledge about barzakh and qiyamah. In other religions, you don't find it. Especially barzakh, there is almost nothing about barzakh. The closest they have come to barzakh is what? NDE. Dreams and NDE, right? Near-death experience. That's the closest they have got. So some people have gone, they have reached to a state of very close to this. They have seen the other side of the other realm, and then they have come back and they have narrated their story, and it's been collected and it's been researched all the time. But there are so much. I mean, when I search on some of these books of Bahar and Surah Kafi, just few books. There are hundreds of books like that. You just search with the word of Alam Zar, Barzakh. Just take the Barzakh. You see so many ahadiths that it is a lifetime to go through them and read them and analyze them and put them together. So basically, we are very lucky that we have got so much information given to us by Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat. And you know, between when we reach Alam Madde, how does Alam Madde finish? Nafkhe Sur. You remember Nafkhe Sur? You all know what is Nafkhe Sur? In Quran, it's called Surah Israfil, right? Israfil is one of the angels of God that he blows into a horn. That is how it's translated. Horn blowing, Nafkhe Surah Awwal, first horn blowing, and second horn blowing. You know what is horn? It's like a trumpet, a big trumpet, right? And whether it's a metaphor or it's a big noise, a sound, voice coming, we don't know that. So in Quran has referred to both of them. The one which is the first one is, when the first one is done, the first nafkhe awwal, the first horn blowing, is when the life terminates on the earth. Everyone is pushed to barzakh, right? That's the and you know that there are in Quran verses which says, "As a shams kubrat ve as a nujumun kadarat ve as a baharu sujjarat ve as a buhush khusharat." These are all about all those big happenings on the earth. And the whole earth will almost flatten, right? But not, and there are some happenings on the earth and some is slightly outside the earth to do with the sun and with the moon. But it is not unlike that some people have interpreted that the whole creation of Allah dismantles. That looks a bit out of the context, that why would Allah, because we are only on the earth, why would Allah dismantle and ruins all the creation, beautiful creation he has got, and galactic world that he has made? Why does he ruin everything altogether? But it is to do with this material world, with the earth. So we will all be pushed to barzakh. That's when the first nafkhe sur happens. The second nafkhe sur happens when everybody is in barzakh and everyone is pushed to qiyamat. That's second. That's also in Quran. They're all running from their qabr. Qabr, of course, is not this material. Qabr is barzakh. Qabr means does mean barzakh itself. So everyone is running from barzakh to Qiyamah. That is getting prepared for the trial of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and presenting our deeds and being judged, and is this to be decided what everyone is going to wear. And even after this judgment and everything is finished, yet between that and going to hell and heaven, there is some other processes taking place, like the issue of Alam A'raf, that the Ashab A'raf is going to happen at that time. But then people start to go, and as per Mr. Bean was saying, remember that there was this clip by Mr. Bean. You all know Mr. Bean, right? Saying, okay, please, it was showing the way to Christians and saying, Christians to hell. Sorry, the Jews were right. So we will see who was right and that. But I don't believe really, having said that, I don't believe the judgment of Allah would be like that in sort of sweeping everything, everybody who has been in any religion, so all of you go to hell. It really is merit of everyone is different depending on what type of person he has been, how honest we have been. It's very important to understand how honest and how truth-seeking the person has been. But do we really think if it was to say only Shias, Muslim Shias, 12 Imams goes to heaven? And if it was the case, do you think today the religion of Islam is properly presented to other people of the world? The way we Muslims are presented to the rest of the world, who wants to be a Muslim? Everyone will escape away from Muslim. So what happens to them? So really is the merit of the person. I'll give you a story, a true story, and I might have said it in the previous years. If anyone has heard it, please bear with me. There was a Shia alim going to Karbala every year. There was a gathering of some some tribes getting together. That's like 60, 70, or probably 80, 100 years ago. And he said he's reading, I have read this in the book of Ma'ad of Allama Husseini Tehrani. In the footnotes, he says that when I went there, they were all Sunnis, and I was the only Shia. Then I got into that circle, we were talking. Everybody was talking about his master and the master of the tribe. They're saying, my master of the tribe is like this, he has got 1,000 camels and he's like this, he's angry. Or one of them was saying, I've got a master, he's very good, he attends to us, he is generous. Everyone was talking about what his master is, how his master is. And he said, this guy says, when it reached to me, I started to give the explanation of Imam Ali alayhi salam without giving any name. I didn't name because they were all Sunnis, so I didn't dare, or I didn't want to talk about talking about Imam Ali alayhi salam. I said, my master is like this, he's very knowledgeable, he knows about everything about us. My master is so merciful. My master in the middle of the night goes and look after the orphans, and all those good attributes of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He said, when I was talking this, the person next to me was a very old Sunni person from his tribe, and he said, he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, what a lovely master you have. So he didn't know who he is. And then that thing finished, and he said, I went, and next year I came back, and I went to the same group, and the same people used to get once a year around each other. Do you remember to have heard this from me? Okay. And it says, but that old man was not among them. And when I asked, they said he has passed away. He said, I asked about his grave, and I went to his graveyard, and I paid tribute and recited Fatiha for him. And then he said, when I came back home and I slept, I saw him in my dream. He said, in my dream, he was in a room which of 4 walls were glasses, and outside the 4 walls, there's all gardens and springs and birds and flowers and, all the signs of like heaven type of thing. And he said, I went towards the man, we greeted, we did musafaha, and that old man, I said, what are you doing here? What is here? He said, why did you not tell me that your master is Ali ibn Abi Talib? He complained to that Shia person. And he said, I'm here. Every day I get two teachers. They're coming here and they're teaching me about Ahlul Bayt and about all the things that I did not know. So that when I learn and when I reach a certain level, then they open this door, I go to this garden, it becomes mine. He was a very good person. What I want to say is being honest and being truthful and open the heart of the person, even though he doesn't know who Imam Ali was, but hearing only about his attributes, the connection was made and he felt it in his heart. So, where was I talking? What was my context? Was salawat, so bring it up.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So,
Christian, Jews, Muslims.
yeah, so I was saying it is not like they open the door and say, all of you guys go to hell. Because even if they wanted to do that, even if we think like that, even if you come to Shias, in Shias there are so many different views on. There are in very big scholars, they almost do takfir of each other. Takfir yani they think he talks rubbish and the other one thinks he's talking rubbish. So it doesn't work like that. Otherwise, maybe only a few people will go to heaven. And also we have to understand that the religion in the true term, in what, in Arabic there is a term called nafsul amr. You understand, Hassan, nafsul amr? Nafsul amr means something it's in its originality without any change. That's called nafsul amr. Religion in its originality without any change is only in the hands of Masumi. Rest of us, have you heard this story that someone, it was a scholar who has done a lot of Hosea studies. And one of the books that they study in Hosea is called Kefaya. That's the book of Kefaya. And he says, and the narrator says, that's the same person. So I became very knowledgeable. I knew Kefaya very well. And I said, does Hazrat Abbas knows so much Kefaya that I know? And is he so educated that to know so much Kefaya? And he says, he sees in the dream Hazrat Abbas coming him and telling him off. He say, whatever you guys learning is not a zarra of the ilm of Ahlul Bayt, and I have the ilm of Ahlul Bayt. Yani it can be like that. So going back to the finishing of the topology of the human, so that it goes through all this and then goes from the nafkha, but the first horn blowing and the second horn blowing. And remember, between first horn blowing and second horn blowing, that everyone is in Barzakh, right? Because the first one, the earth will demolish and everyone goes to Barzakh. Between these two times, something important is happening. What is happening? The human body for Qiyamah is being made during that time. How? How is human being? Because we know that we have discussed in the past the issue of whether this body, when it goes to earth, it goes to the grave and it gets disintegrated and mixes up with dust and soil, and then somebody else's on this grave, some plant grows and ingredients of that person goes into the plant, and that plant is eaten by a sheep, and the sheep is eaten by a man. So, and that little piece of whatever of ear of someone becomes probably the tongue of someone else. So the question of, it's called shobhiyya akil ma'kul, eaten and eater, akil and ma'kul. This is very famous shobhiyya, and a lot of justification has been made, especially Mullah Sadra has done a lot of work and has come up with a very nice concept to say what happens, because Quran clearly says, Quran leaves no doubt that it is our physical body in Qiyamah. because we have to have a body. But Mullah Sadr says that physical body doesn't mean this physical. There is another physical body behind this body, behind this skin and flesh. It calls that is the body. But there is another concept that says, this concept is also supported by hadith and riwayat, that, you know, when Alam is that there is that, I said, particle body we have, that particle body is carrying all the things that, because that particle body is coming to this world with us. It does come to this world. Imagine an atom. That is my explanation. It's not that it's an atom. It's so small. It continues to be transferred from soul to soul. You know soul, right? Soul means from generation to generation. That's the Quranic word for it. So comes to this world and makes this body for us. So what we do in Barzakh is with that particle and the test we go through creates this body in this world for us, right? And when we die, the other day, because I was studying this about 3-4 weeks ago about this, I was pondering upon looking at how these, then I contacted Dr. Muhammad. I said, something occurred to me. I said, maybe DNA is that very particle. And I asked Dr. Muhammad, does DNA sort of become inexistent back when people die? And he did a little bit of research, I guess, and came back to me. Some DNAs can be found, some cannot be found. So I was thinking maybe DNA is that particle. Especially this strengthened my view on that, rethinking of, okay, when a zygote is being made, before the zygote is being made, basically is the sperm and the egg, right? That is how the life is going to be created. And 200 to 800 million sperm and one egg is going to take which one of those sperm. Every sperm is taking one unique DNA with it. Which one of these are going to be successful to make the person, right? These are all really playing in my mind, and I'm still trying to understand what it is. But what I can see from the ahadith, that particle body will come down with us to this earth, and when we die, that particle body, this is verse of Quran, that this is the very, very clear hadith which says when people die, they go to the earth, everything disintegrates except one part, that yabqa and something, that it will always be remaining. This is hadith. When we die, there is part of our body that will never perish. That's particle, that's very small. It remains. And what happened between the two horns, first horn and second horn, this dark Qiyamah body is being made. How? Those particle bodies are still in the soul of the earth, and they don't perish, and they don't mix up with anything. And there will be so many days of raining, and the Qiyamah body of us will be like a plant, grows from that particle, what does that particle do? That particle has got all the information about us. You can imagine of a very small thing like a computer chip, not that size, much smaller than that size, that has got all the information about us. And from that, when we are in Alam Barzakh, our particles are in material life, because we will be in Barzakh with Badane Misali, we will be with a different body, right? It's not that body. That body is growing from the earth, and that is hadith. That even this body that we have, also there is hadith for it, that you might have read that 40 days of rain comes, right, until the bodies are created and made. This is before this body, material body, is made as well. So between the two horns blowing, our Qiyamah body is being made on material, in human, in this earth. Don't take or don't think that earth, when it reaches to this destruction, that everything is finished and we are all put into the barzakh. Don't think there is nothing else there yet. There are other creatures. There are other creatures, but they are not in our real. We don't even know them. We don't even detect them. We don't even sense them. Okay. So I'm just showing some of these points so that disturb your minds. Disturb mind. If not, I tell you more. No, I want to. When I say disturbing the mind, I don't find the right word to make your mind, stimulate your mind, and then maybe as an independent topic we can talk about it. So between those two, horn blowing, the body being made, and then we are in Qiyamah, and then when the second one is done, we go. So this is the topology of the human existence. Right? Now, when we have been, now I want to say what happens from the Alam Ruh when we start until we reach to Qiyamah. What is the issue? The issue of when we are moving from Alam Qiyamah, from Alam Ruh to Alam Qiyamah, issue is at that level we are at the level of oneness. When we are before the Ruh is created, we are at the level of oneness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oneness means very close. Even in Alam Barzakh, why in Alam Barzakh almost everyone saw the God? It was not physical seeing of the God. It was they were seeing the God in their nafs, was not absent. That is how everyone was did shuhud of God in his own nafs. Right? So when we were in Alam Ruh, right, at that level, we were in a state of oneness. Okay? And in that state of oneness, everything is about wahdat. Correct? You all know this word, wahdat. From wahdat, the moment we were descended, kasrat started, diversity. We came to diversity. You know how the wahdat and kasrat start. The first wahdat is Zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then it comes to asma. Asma are the first diversity. Right? Asma Allah, like generous, knowledgeable. These are all asma Allah. Do you remember? Generous, knowledgeable, forgiver, sustainer, razzaq. You know all those names. Shahid, Sabir. These are. So that is the start of diversity. Then when human being took from Asma'ullah and came to the being, the diversity started. So we started to forget about the oneness where we were. We started to forget that we were in level of Tawheed. So the rest of the life from that part, from Alam Ruh, until we reach to Qiyamah, is all about they want to make us Mubahid again. That's why they say Tawheed. You know, everything is about Tawheed. There is nothing other than Tawheed. Tawheed in Arabic means making one, converting everything to one. That's called Tawheed. And I remember Rahmatullah Aghay Najabat. I remember his word. This is one of the things he used. He said, all the studies that we do, of course, he was a mujtahid and alim and bigger than a mujtahid to me. He said, everything that is learned from all the studies, unless it is on the way of Tawheed, is not of any value. Not only in that, he was saying, even whatever in life you do, unless it is on the way of Tawheed, it doesn't have any value. So you learn something and you start boasting with it. You have not done anything. You have not used it properly. So everything is about Tawheed. We have come to this world from this point of Alam Ruh. We are coming down to more diversity, and Allah is pushing us. He's channelizing us and pushing us towards oneness again. Salawat. How many more minutes I have? I think 7, 8 minutes, right? We finish at 7:50 because I can see some of you guys are falling asleep. Okay, and you might have we should have a third session to wrap this up. So this is all we have to do. Main mission is to maintain, to make Tawheed, to convert everything to one. And I start with using this very simple hadith that you have heard it from me in a different context. Hubbul watan min al-iman. Who remembers that? You? Hubbul watan min al-iman means the love of watan. Watan is home country. It's from iman, it's from faith. Right? And at that time, I interpreted this to tell you guys who have come from different parts of the world to say, Watan is where you can climb up again and come back to where you have come from. Real Watan, the real Watan is in Watan of divinity. We have been in divinity, the divine word. That's our Watan. But on the material Watan is anywhere that you can reach to perfection and climb up and go again to reach to the same Watan. So I remember I was giving this example of, if I know today my perfection opportunity is going to be in Japan, I will go to Japan. If it's in Iran, I go to Iran. And if it's in New Zealand, it's in New Zealand. So my feeling, my true feeling, I don't have any exaggeration. My true feeling for Watan in this earth is anywhere that I can do something that it helps me perfect myself so that I can reach to the original Watan. So Hubbul Watan min al-iman. So from that Watan, we have started, we have come down. And then when we have reached to Alam Zar, right? When we have reached to Alam Zar, this is the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, verse of Quran. وَإِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ. You have all heard this? This is called Ayah Alast, and that day is called Alam Alast. من بني آدم من ظهورهم ذريتهم وأشهد على أنفسهم ألست بربكم قالوا بلى. I prefer to stop this here because I don't want to interrupt because this looks like an independent topic. So I'll leave it for the next week so I continue from here on. But we did the topology of human existence. We also understood that the whole life is about Tawheed. Whatever we are doing is about Tawheed. And we did, sorry, let me tell you 5 more minutes. So in that Tawheed really is about making everything one. There is only one thing. There is only one sin. There is only one reward. There is only one good deed. Rest of it, we have made it diversified. What is the good one good deed only? Tawheed. And you make everything one. That's the only thing you're supposed to do. But when you diversify that, yeah, there's a lot of other things you have to do. But basically, the real thing is only one. And there's only one sin. You have created the rest of the sins from that. The very one sin is act of defiance against Allah. Create that. Then when we do not become the servant of Allah, what happens then? We start to make opposite of that. They start to make 1 into 1,000. Then thousands of sins come. There is only one question. There is only one advice. In Quran it says, "Innama a'azukum bil wahida." Allah says in Quran, I give you only one advice. So it's only, really everything is one. We have diversified everything. We have made everything look so many. Otherwise, when you walk on your life, normal life, and you leave your normal life, everything goes back to that very one thing. You have, am I a servant of Allah or not? So you don't do any other sin. If everything you're doing is on that path of being a servant of Allah, then that's the very thing that you need to do. So if you do not do that, then immediately you open a lot of other sins for yourself, for ourselves. Correct? So let's finish it here, and maybe I give 5 minutes to any question if it's going to be, and then inshallah we will continue next week. Alhamdulillah. Either I talk so.
There's a question from Dr. Nan.
Yes.
It says, dear Saeid Bassam, does this mean that those who have been in this world dunya are still in Alam al-Dhar until they become a fertilized ovum in the future? Then they finish the al asgar stage?
No, I did not say that, Dr. Adnan. I did not say that. I said categorically, I said, alam ruh, alam dhar, alam earth. Let's call it alam earth. So when the moment we come to the earth, so we are entered a different realm. So alam dhar is finished at that. No question?
So you will be talking about Tinat and Qabiliyat and Fa'aliyat in the next lecture?
Yeah.
You want to open that as a topic?
Yeah. I don't go to too much details, but as much as it relates to our main topic, I talk about it. Okay? Okay, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على